Welcome to Carpe Dime, a podcast about personal finance and everyday life. I'm Jamie Davidson from Financial Center First Credit Union.
And I'm Dusty Simmons.
Thanks for spending your free time listening to us talk about how life and family affects us achieving our financial goals.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Dusty.
Do you remember Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation?
Oh, yeah. I remember Cousin Eddie from a lot of the shows of the vacation groups. That guy, yeah.
Do you got a couple of choice lines you can share with us?
I don't think I can share any of the lines that he says.
I know I can only think of the one, and I can't say it on air.
I can think of a few different ones, but yeah. The one that comes back to mind always is, when he's emptying the RV's septic tank.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. Do you have a Cousin Eddie?
I mean, so, Cousin Eddie, he's a little backwards. He's not so great with his money, but he's this lovable relative that Clark Griswold has to deal with while he's on Christmas vacation, right?
Right, yeah.
All right. So what do you think is so memorable about Cousin Eddie?
I love that Cousin Eddie shows up, has the RV, and
This message comes from Capital One. With the Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One, you earn unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase and get big purchasing power so your business can spend more and earn more. Stephen, Brandon, and Bruno, the business owners of SandCloud, reinvested their 2% cash back to help build the company's retail presence. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Find out more at CapitalOne.com/SparkCashPlus. Terms apply.
It's Christmas time, has no shame asking for anything or doing anything.
Right.
Don't forget the Dickies he wears too. He's got a nice set of Dickies.
Okay, Dickies, yeah.
And I just think, heart's in the right place, but man, that guy, I think if I remember right, I think he's got a metal plate in his head.
Yeah. So today we're covering a pretty stressful topic for some of us, what to do when a friend or family member like Cousin Eddie asks for money. So stay tuned for some good advice to get you through your next Cousin Eddie related experience.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. So we all probably have a Cousin Eddie in our family, or an Uncle Jamie, or
right.
an Aunt Dusty, or, we have that black sheep that sort of just marches at their own beat. And no matter how hard they try to fit in
they just
and do the right thing. Yeah. And for some reason, they always seem to be short of what?
Money?
Money.
Oh, well, see, I was looking at this from the different perspective of, everybody's friends and family dynamics have the spenders and the savers. Mm-hmm. And you definitely know of your friends or your family group, which is which, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, you got your Clark Griswolds and then you got your Cousin Eddies.
You got your Cousin Eddies.
Right.
Yeah. Or your nephews, or your... Yep.
Or yes. Exactly.
All of them, right?
So, if you're the saver, you may be a target of someone who needs money, especially if you're a pretty approachable person.
It reminds me of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, whenever they had the picture, the person's head turns and it says sucker on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you're the saver in this group, you might have that, they might think you're the sucker. So
right.
We really need to talk about this and talk about the right way to handle a family member or a friend coming and asking you to either borrow money or co-sign on a loan, or it's not an easy discussion to have.
No, because as we all know, money can be a destroyer of relationships, or at least an uncomfortable situation if money comes between friends and family members. Right. And sometimes it does.
We've seen a lot of friendships and a lot of family strife because of borrowing money, and mm-hmm. whether or not being paid back, or just people's what do I want to say here? Perception of the person with or without the money. It goes both ways, really, when you think about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Whether you're the one who's borrowing or the one who's lending.
Yeah, I think back to because we have family members, they borrow money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because my in-laws always came to us and thought we were the rich people. And the niece or nephew came to us one time and was asking for money, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys are rich. I'm like,
so perception.
I'm a school teacher. I live in a 3-bedroom house. What do you mean I'm rich? So it really comes back to, for them that had no food in the pantry, right? We're usually 2 or 3 months behind on the rent.
Mm-hmm.
To them, I looked like I had a lot of money. So it really comes back to that. And, the conversation is going to come, it's going to happen when it looks as though you might be the successful one. So
right. So whichever side of the line you fall on, the person who's asking for money or the person who's lending money, we're going to give you some tips today to have a less stressful conversation. And those things are going to include what to consider when someone asks you for money, how to say yes, and how to say no in a way that doesn't damage your relationship.
Just say no.
So let's start by talking about what to consider when someone asks you if they can borrow money.
Okay. the first thing you really need to do is you need to look over your own finances and make sure you have that availability to loan that money, and it's not going to put you in a pinch, right?
And like, what does that really mean? Put me in a pinch.
Meaning, if you're going to have to decide whether to loan them money to help pay their bills and you can't pay your bills,
right?
That's, I hate to say it, it's a no-brainer, but for some of us, it's not, because, emotional, I want to take care of my brother or my sister, or my niece or my nephew, and because we're family. But if it's putting your family's, financial situation at risk, then the answer is, going to have to probably be no. So the first thing you want to look at is where you are financially. You got to ask the question, where's the money going to come from?
Right. And even if it just is meant to disrupt your own savings habits, that may not be a good reason to lend out money, right? So whether or not you can afford it and pay your bills, but also whether it's going to inhibit your savings habits.
And here's history. What I've seen is usually when this comes up, it's usually one of those things where you're asked and they want to answer right away. And my answer to that is, if they can't let you have the time to make that decision, then the answer is going to have to be no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You got to make sure you're caught up on your own bills. Make sure you have your own emergency savings, and you can do that.
I mean, we preach that all the time. So 3 months savings, up to 6 months savings, but you shouldn't really be considering lending someone else money unless it's a dire situation, if you aren't where you should be in your saving strategy.
Right. And there's some things you need to consider besides just looking at your own budget. One is, you need to have the conversation with the other people in your life. Your partner or your spouse. And that conversation needs to take place. If you're loaning money without having that conversation, that can come back and sort of bite you on your butt. Yeah. So you really have to have that conversation.
Yeah, I did that once. It did not work out well, and I lent money without talking to someone else.
Yeah. So you want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that, the idea that sometimes the answer is going to be, will you co-sign with me?
Yeah, and that's a whole different conversation, right?
I mean, it's still a yes/no conversation, but that conversation needs to take place and what the ramifications are. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those sorts of things.
Okay. All right. Another thing that you should consider is whether or not you're okay with them not paying you back.
Yes. Here's the answer to that. If you are going to loan someone money, you need to basically be okay not getting paid back.
Right. I mean, hopefully you will get paid back, but you just never know. And you have to be okay with letting that money just go.
If you're going to do that, you need to be sure that you've washed your hands of it. And when you get paid back, if you get paid back, that's a bonus. Because in all honesty, folks, most of the times when this happens, you don't get paid back.
Right.
So if you're going to do this to be nice and not worry about it, because you have plenty, you have plenty in your cushion and your savings, you've got enough cushion there, I should say. And you're doing it because you're wanting to help that person, hopefully you'll get paid back. But if you're going with the idea that you're probably going to get paid back, this is where it's going to get back to that idea of ruining relationships.
Right. And another thing that we've talked about when we were prepping for this is, are you okay with seeing that person spend money on things that you necessarily don't agree with when they haven't paid you back? And vice versa. If you're the person who owes someone money, you need to make sure that they know the reason that maybe you're not paying that back and you're buying something else.
See this happen all the time. And this actually goes back.
This is where feelings get hurt.
This actually goes back to that spending and saving, that idea that spending money makes me happy. And people that are coming to borrow money probably aren't doing very well with a budget. Right. So their idea of getting happy means they're spending money. And when you loan them that money, that doesn't then give you the right to decide what else they can and can't spend their money on. So if you're going to do that, you got to sort of be willing to step back and not let it bother you. Right. Because it's really hard to do, because you're thinking to yourself, well, they owe me X amount of dollars, but they just went out and spent that on something that we would consider wasteful. So, and the other thing you want to think about if they don't pay you back is, how's it going to affect your relationship?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and again, that comes back to being okay with knowing they're not going to pay you back if that's the case, or being okay with them spending money. Like, those are the things that can affect how you feel about your relationship with each other, right?
Right. Like I said, be prepared for them not to pay you back. Now, here's what I will say to you, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more as we go through this. You loan them once and they don't pay you back, shame on them. You loan them twice and they don't pay you back, that's shame on you. You didn't learn your lesson.
Right.
So
I totally agree.
We're going to have to talk a little bit about that. Okay. So we're going to talk about 4 things when it comes to saying yes. Number 1, Dusty.
So number 1, make sure you've discussed with the other family members who might be affected by your decision that you are going to say yes. And, just don't make that decision by yourself. If there are other people affected by your financial choices, make sure they're on the same page as you.
Right. Number 2, think about this. This is a great time to teach somebody. So if you say yes, maybe it is, okay, I'll say yes and help you with this, but I really want to sit down with you and help you learn how to budget and have that conversation, because really the person is probably having these issues and coming to you because they're probably not very good at managing their own money. So this is a great teachable moment.
It's not necessarily about their income. It's about their ability to budget and save and right.
Yeah. Their spending habits. What are they spending on?
And if you're a good saver, then you're probably better at that than they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Create clear expectations or even a contract for repayment. So I will say, when I got out of college, I borrowed some money from my aunt to go on a trip. And she and I sat down before I borrowed that money and decided how I was going to pay that back. And she was so nice. She didn't charge me interest. But, if you're going to set up somebody for repayment, make sure you're both clear when your payment is expected, if there's going to be interest, and when you expect that loan to be paid off.
So I come from a family of, I'm the oldest grandchild of, I believe, 14 or 15 of us. And I borrowed money one time from my grandparents. This is after I had gotten out of college. And I actually, I had them charge me interest, and I would go and visit once a month at least and bring them a check. Mm-hmm. And I paid it back early. It wasn't a lot of money. It was just, I basically consolidated some debt that I had and paid it off. And I tell you right here and now, it made a load of difference in the rest of my life with my grandparents as far as our relationship was concerned, because so many of the other grandchildren or my aunts or uncles would borrow money and they never paid it back. Mm-hmm. And I mean, before my grandmother passed away, she had made the comment that to her it was so important that I'd paid that back, and how it made it. She loved me so much, but by doing that, she really realized that I was going to be a successful person. That if I'd ever needed money, that would have been okay to come to them again. And I was like, well, I would never do that. I didn't want to really do that, because there's that part of that conversation when you're the one borrowing the money. If you're a person that's usually pretty good, it's not easy to ask for money either.
Right. But having that conversation and knowing what those expectations are really set the stage for a successful continued relationship, right? You build trust. Mm-hmm. If you ever needed to borrow money again, that opportunity is there because you've shown the ability to repay. Right. So that's a very important conversation to have. Mm-hmm. And then 4,
be okay with losing the money. If they aren't able to repay you back, the money's gone. Yeah. There's no reason to chase the money. You've got to have this conversation with yourself beforehand. If I loan the person the money and they don't pay it back, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
But I don't think you tell them that.
No, you don't tell them that. Right. Obviously, you don't want to tell them that, because that's really setting them up for failure.
Right.
I think the best way is to set up a monthly payment plan, mm-hmm. where there's a conversation taking place. And a lot of people are like, oh, you don't need to do that with family. I think you do need to have that done with family. I think you need to do that. I have my own children that are in their 20s and teens, and I do that with them. Mm-hmm. And I hold them accountable, because, when they go out and borrow money from the bank or the credit union, they're going to be held accountable, right? Mm-hmm. And by allowing them to not be held accountable, what are we teaching them?
That it's okay to not pay your bills.
Right.
Right. You're teaching them bad money management habits. Okay. So I want to ask you a quick question here. So if you say yes to just lending someone, $1,000 or some cash or whatever, that's one thing. But we actually talked specifically about what is saying yes to co-signing a loan. What does that really mean? Because that's a different level of lending someone money.
Right. So you have someone that comes to you and says, will you be the co-signer on a loan? Remember this. If they do not pay back the loan, you are held responsible for that. That will affect your credit score. That will affect your ability to borrow. So it's very important that you're aware of that before you sign it. I've met many people in the industry, and they're like, well, I co-signed for my brother and he didn't pay the payment, and now they're trying to get the money from me, and they're very upset and they think it's not fair. But the answer is, you actually signed on the promissory note saying that it would get paid. That's why they had you do it. So you need to make sure, if you're signing on a note, that you're aware of the consequences, because if you don't, mm-hmm. it can get ugly.
Yeah. I mean, and we've talked about parents or, grandparents or that kind of thing, but it really gets even uglier when you kind of get into like you're not really related situation where mm-hmm. you're doing that for a friend or maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I mean, what happens if that relationship changes? and now you're liable for a loan you didn't really even want. So be very careful about it, I think is what we're saying if you're going to co-sign for a
Definitely.
loan.
Well, think about that. Even with, not really co-signing, but if I'm dating someone and I have a credit card and I get them as added on as a credit card user, I'm liable for that bill because it's in my name.
Mm-hmm.
So if I give that person and I've got a credit card that has a $5,000 limit and they go crazy one night and go max it out, I'm liable for that. There's no way. You can't just go and tell the court that, well, that person lost their mind and you're no longer together. They don't care about that.
Right.
So it's really important that you're aware of that. And, we all want to help our family out, our friends out, or, people that we love, but you've got to be very careful about doing it.
Got it.
Which takes me to my favorite part.
Say no.
Say no, say no, say no, say no, just say no.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a difference between saying no and then maybe coming up with what we have are 3 or 4 additional suggestions to say no in a way that also helps the person, right?
I think the answer is you just got to be the grumpy uncle so that they're just scared to ask you.
I mean, maybe sometimes you do have to be that way, especially if they're the person who's not going to repay you. But we did come up with 4 ways to say no, but also to give them support. So number 1.
Say no, but hey, I know you're a little short on money. Maybe you know someplace or somewhere you can help get them a side job, a side hustle, or show them a way to make extra money.
Right.
So, there's a lot of ways to make money, and
introduce them to somebody who's hiring,
right?
Or who needs help in some way. Get them some extra cash without saying, I'm going to give you the money. Right. Okay. Number 2, provide an opportunity to earn money. So, we've done this with family members before who are handy and I'm not handy. Hey, come up and fix my fence for me and I'll pay you $500.
Right.
So give them an opportunity to earn the money, not just give it out.
Caveat to that. You have your nephew come up to fix some things and you're going to pay him. Make sure you get the things fixed before you pay the whole bill.
I feel like this is a personal story here.
Oh, so many different personal stories. That's just one of many. Yes. That's fine, but remember, if you pay somebody to do the work, but you pay them up front, you're on their time schedule and this person you're probably dealing with isn't probably good at managing their money or their time.
Okay. That's a good tip. Step number 3, invest in your friend or family member. So I've had this happen to me once or twice where someone comes with an idea or something that they want to do, and they want upfront money to start the business or whatever. It's okay to say yes to those things, but offer to either review a business plan with them, make sure that they've thought through it, or maybe, in order to get there, they're going to have to take a class. Support them in, paying for the class, maybe to get them their real estate license or whatever it is they want to do. So you can provide support without actually giving them money, but actually sponsoring something that they need to do to get there.
Right. And number 4, don't be afraid to be honest of why you're saying no. If the answer is, I really don't have the extra money, I'd love to help you, tell them that.
Yeah.
If it's, hey, I love you, but as far as responsibilities are concerned, you haven't shown me that you can be responsible. Now, if you show me differently, there's a chance the next time I'll say yes. But you have to have that conversation because I can tell you this. I know people, and I'm not talking about just my family. I know people that they say yes and it becomes that it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. People keep coming back and asking for more.
Or other family members then see, hey, this person will help.
Right. So they all line up. I always call them the vampires. Mm-hmm. Vampires will line up and just start sucking you dry. Obviously, I don't want to say no to my children.
Right.
There's a fine line there.
Right.
With family.
Well, and I think, like you said, it's sometimes hard to have those conversations with your friends or family members, but it's okay to tell them the real reason you're saying no. Either you're not responsible, or I don't have the money, or whatever the reason is. It's okay.
Yeah. And let's go back. I've got another one. So let's say we said yes and we don't get paid back.
Uh-huh.
The next time the answer has to be what?
No.
It does. And you'll be surprised at the audacity. You will have people that you say yes to that say they're going to pay you back. They don't pay you back. And a few years later, they'll come and ask for money again. So I have a long memory. And so when you go back to saying no, remember, I am saying no this time because the last time you didn't pay me back and you still actually owe me this amount. And I added interest onto it. So if you want to pay this bill, then I can loan to you the next time. Mm-hmm. So.
All right. So we've got a few takeaways here to help you kind of understand and figure out the best way to have this conversation with your friends or family member. And the first one is to try to create some general rules about who you feel comfortable loaning money to. And so this is that discussion you have with your partner or your spouse or your family members to say, hey, I'm comfortable if someone asks me for money, if I know they're going to pay me back and they're responsible and whatever those criteria are, but kind of know in your mind and in your family's mind who you're okay lending money to and who you're not.
Right. If you get a text saying so-and-so needs money out in California, the answer is no. I don't know so-and-so in California.
Okay.
Number 2 takeaway. When approached by a friend or family member looking to borrow money, ask yourself if you're really in a position to be giving money away.
And that goes back to make sure all your ducks are in a row, you're paying your bills, your emergency savings there, and you're not disrupting any of your own savings habits.
I've helped so many people, parents that just wanted to help their children, their grown adult children. And I've seen grown adults that are in retirement age that have no retirement because they kept helping their children.
Yep.
And their children never paid them back. And as a parent, I don't want to tell my children no. I understand that, but that's a hard way to go by. And, I've seen it happen. And it's something that you just need to take into consideration when you're loaning money.
Yep. And number 3, if you are considering giving money away or loaning money out, think about the contract and something that you can both agree on and feel good about.
Have a contract. They don't pay the bill, you have to break their kneecaps. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
Number 4.
It's okay to take your time to make a decision that respects your financial boundaries. Don't feel like you have to say yes or no to somebody right away. Do only what you feel comfortable with based on your own financial situation.
Yeah, I tell you, the worst thing is you see that phone number pop up and your anxiety goes up because you know what they're calling for.
Yeah.
And you know what you just don't want to have to say no. Mm-hmm. But the anxiety that comes with it, and you're doing the right thing by saying no, probably. If not, you wouldn't have such anxiety, right?
Right.
We've all been there.
Number 5, don't be afraid to recommend professional help from a one-on-one counselor like Jamie. It's okay to say no and to say, I can't help you, but I know someone who can.
I know a guy that'll sit down and help you with your budget, and if you don't pay him back, he'll break your kneecaps.
He's kidding. He won't break
it's
your
a
kneecaps.
Joke.
But, in all seriousness, credit counseling, maybe something they really need, budgeting help. Learning, giving them the financial knowledge is really more what they need.
Yeah. And you know what? It's really not easy to ask for that help.
It's not.
Really, it's not. And if you're somebody that's been helped by somebody giving you that kind of counseling, that's a great gift to say, hey, go speak to this person. They're going to help you make your life better. So you don't have to go ask other people for money. And a lot of times that conversation for that person is really hard to have. But once they do have it, they get those tools they need, and then they're off to the races, and they're not asking you for money anymore, hopefully.
Right. So really, money situations, especially when it comes to friends or family, are never easy. But if you follow today's tips and these financial takeaways, hopefully you'll be able to have a less stressful money conversation and better relationships with everyone, including your Cousin Eddie's.
Cousin Eddie. Carpe Dime is presented by Financial Center First Credit Union. It's produced by Dusty Simmons, Courtney Cooper, and Jamie Davidson.
Financial Center is a 6-time national award winner in the category of adult financial literacy, and our goal is to help you improve your financial life. To learn more, visit fcfcu.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe from Google, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Hi, I'm Courtney. Usually, I'm behind the scenes at Carpe Dime editing episodes that you're listening to right now. But today, I'm in front of the microphone to ask for a favor. We want to know what you think about our podcast. So, if you're listening from iTunes today, be sure to let us know if you like what you hear. Thanks for listening.